flats that I seeded last week, I'm seeing a little bit of germination, both in the Clorox flats and the ones that I tried to fix. You can see that video from last week. And also bok choy and kale extras that I seeded. I'm not seeing any green onions, but I really got to get these guys out so that they don't get leggy. So I'm going to, since I don't have a lot of space, I think this one with the bok choy and kale will be fine out in the greenhouse where they'll get a little bit cooler nights. I think they'll be up to that. The lettuces I planted a little bit late anyway, so I think I'm going to go ahead and stash them under the lights in the house and just kind of give them a little bit more of a head start. Okay, so I got all my little guys stashed in here, 3 shelves, 2 flats of leaf, another 2 flats of leaf, and my little leftover cucumbers and doodads in here. I've got my bok choy and kale and green onions hanging out here with the cucumbers. I think I'm gonna pull this flat of German butterballs and bring it up into the house with the rest of them, since I didn't get them sprouted as soon as these other Alaska potatoes.
Hi! It's Wednesday and it's been raining and raining and raining, but today is supposed to be just overcast. And so even though everything is all wet in this bed here, I want to plant out my lettuces. The birds have been out here rototilling, but I have not seen them as much. But to be safe, I want to definitely cover my lettuce, but also cover it to keep it warm because it's definitely not warm out. My spinach and my chard is just starting to pop up. Obviously, it's going to take the carrots a little bit longer. Oh, I should check my I should check my beets. Oh, let's check beets. Yes, and I also see some beets coming up. Do I see beets? Yeah, I see beets coming up too. Yeah. So beets, spinach, and chard are just starting to pop up. And so what I'm going to do to prep this bed here is do it a little bit differently than I did these beds and put the seaweed just as a mulch on top. Now, if I had time, I would go through these beds and get all the rocks and boulders out of them, but I'm not going to bother with that. It's not going to hinder the growth of lettuces, which is what's going to go in these 3 beds, lettuces. And so my first succession that's ready is going to go in here. The problem is I bought this really groovy tool that I have been wanting to use and I've been wanting to have for so long, which is a gritter. And I will do a separate video kind of with a review after I've used it for a season and stuff. But the problem is I don't know how it's going to roll through seaweed.
In a previous video, I showed how the seaweed had dried in the pathways, and so I had stepped on it and crunched it up. And then later I actually turned it over, let it dry on the other side, and then crunched all over that. So the seaweed is pretty crunched up in here. And then plus, as the birds have been kind of going through getting bugs and stuff, it's gotten all mixed up with the soil. So I think it's going to work actually perfect. Maybe even to use the gritter to mark spots, and definitely to plant right into. So I'm going to try that next. Oh my gosh. I just tamped this down a little bit with a rake. This is like the tallest bed in the whole world. So I don't know if you can kind of see this, but you can see the pattern where the edges, you know, where the plants will go. Okay, so I got all my little guys, my little lettuce plugs set out there. And oh my gosh, let's see. I've got some nice green leaf still left. 1, 2, 3, 4 times 2, 4, 6, 24 minus 1, 23 greens left. And then quite a few of these reds that didn't germinate at all, and just a few little guys left. So not too bad. I'll have to figure out what to do with these guys. So we got all the little buggers planted. You can't see the red ones because, you know, they're too dark to see against the soil. And that gritter made things a breeze, not having to measure out. But the plugs were wet enough and the soil was damp and it's supposed to rain tomorrow. So I think I'm not gonna water these guys in. I think they'll be okay. What do I do with the rest of my day, that my very only not rainy day that I have this week? What's he doing? Oh my goodness. What's he doing with his feet? Okay, so what I ended up doing was prepping these 3 beds right here, just the exact same way I did that first bed this morning. And I would like to, in this original area of the garden, to have gotten some sand and some organic material down way deep into the soil. But I figure, you know, I can do that next year. This will work out fine. I'm not seeing any birds except for a couple little juncos, and they don't usually cause much grief, but I think I'm gonna go ahead and throw out some Agribon row cover over these guys too. Okay, I'm setting up my hose to go from my main hose to my drip line. I cut 4 lengths at 12 feet, and then I have male and female fittings and these little bands called ferrules that go around and they crimp down. This is the crimper. And what we're using the size here, because the hose is 5/8, we're using 925 ferrule size. And the crimper thing here is 091. And then afterwards, you put this little sleeve on and put some heat on it, and it shrinks down and makes it kind of weatherproof. Okay, so this was from the original hose, which is a male end. Boy, it's pretty monkeyed up. And all chewed up. So I need this female end on the other end here. And, oh shoot. So I need to put this band on first. And then Tyler showed me how to do this. He said the easy thing to do is to get a little bit of soap on your finger and put it on this end here, and then jam this in here like this. Oh man. Okay, so I think that's about right. How about that? Is that better? Can you see the hole better? Okay, so I'm sticking this thing in here, and then I'm supposed to go down part way, just part way. I'm supposed to take the thing and turn it like 90 degrees. Oi. Now we're going all the way down. Oh my gosh. I don't know if I did that right. Okay, so that would have crimped that really well, so I want to do the first one I did a little bit crimpier. Okay. We're gonna crimpy him. Okay. Ooh. Moved you guys around. So, can you see that? It's crimped, and then it's crimped again. You put a little band on there and heat shrink it down. Okay, so I was having a hard time getting the female end onto the hose, even with the soap, because there was still just like a little bit of play in it. So Tyler showed me a trick where you put the male end and you screw it in down tight, and then you smash it on and it goes on way easier. So that's a trick, so I remember. Okay, today we're supposed to have, you know, some clouds and some sun breaks. Hopefully not too hot, not too cold, not rainy, and we get some things planted out into these 3 beds here. But this morning I got the hose going. I've got this 4-hose connector, and what's nice, it has an end here, so I can put another hose on here to run my, you know, just hand watering stuff. But these all go to the drip lines, the 4 drip lines in each of these beds. And so we've got the basil in here. The lettuce is still running in there. Starts that need to go out today. And then 2 more that run into here. I got each of these little hoses on quick connect fixtures here so that if I need to remove them, then it's easier, because otherwise when you try and twist these off, it actually twists these kind of wimpy little drip hoses. I pulled all of the starts out of the greenhouse for the most part, and these 4 flats of lettuces that I've had under the lights up at the house, because these guys, I'm gonna go ahead and put them in the greenhouse at night for the first time, try and get them used to the somewhat great outdoors. Under insect netting to keep the birds and insects from fiddling. And I've got my little green onions and leeks over here. They'll probably be fine, hopefully. So yeah, that is a little fox sparrow and a little junco behind him. So the fox sparrows are still here, at least one of them. Oh, we're just getting a couple of little showers amidst the sun breaks, but hopefully that'll just kind of go back and forth all day today. So I've got to plant out some chard in that far bed, and then a couple of beds of kale. And then that'll be it for today. This bed was intended for scarlet kale and chard, but my scarlet kale didn't come up very well. And I've got this parsley that overwintered still in here, and so I'm just going to leave it in here. And I kind of planted some chards, you know, amongst them. I got 61 Italian kale in this bed, and it was, I think, 65 chard in this bed, because I kind of jammed the ones at the end. So now I'm going to plant this last bed of kale. I'm going to have these new trial varieties, I guess, at this end. I'm going to plant all of those and then see what Italian kale I can get in the rest of this. Yeah, I'm not sure if this is just a shower or if the rains are coming. We're expected to get like ½ an inch of rain tomorrow. So I'm going to put you guys underneath the roof, and I'm going to get this last bed done. Alrighty, so that was just a minor shower, and the sun is back out. And I got all of this kale planted, and the Italian kale, I actually had 3 times 6, 18 that didn't germinate at all. And then these ones are the smaller ones. I've got 2, 4, 6 times 6 is 36, 37, 38, 39, 40 that are kind of smaller. This is all the scarlet kale that just didn't really come up very well, you know. And then the chard, I've got 2, 4, 6, 7 that didn't germinate. And then I've got on the table some bok choy that I'm going to pull out and put on a couple on each of the bed ends here. All right, so I got a couple of bok choy, and what I'm going to do is put boards down here so that the slugs, once they're done eating, they'll go under here during the day, and then I can easily find them if they're not just hiding the leaves. But I've got 2 on all of the bed ends, and since these guys are just beyond ready to go out, I'm going to go ahead and plant out all of these other bed ends as well. All right, before I plant out the rest of the bok choy, I'm going to throw the Agribon row cover over these beds that I just planted, just so I can kind of have them done as it's kind of we keep getting showers. Always in the past, I've just used row cover floating, and you know, the plants do fine. They just kind of push up against it. But I did go ahead and order some 9-gauge wire, like in Johnny's. You know, they have their insect netting over the top of those hoops made out of that kind of wire. So I decided to go ahead and do that. I'm sure that the Agribon will work probably. Hopefully it's not too heavy over the top of the wire, but I'm waiting for that to come in. And so in the meantime, I'm just going to throw the cover over the top like I usually do. As I was covering up this last bed, I wanted to remind myself what I have in it, because it's a mix of kales. So in this first bed, I have all Bright Lights chard In this bed, I have all Toscana Italian kale. And in this bed, at the far end, I have 12 each green kale. And then coming this way, 12 each dazzling blue, 12 each black magic. And then the rest of this is just the Toscana Italian kale for a total of 61 kale plants in this bed. And I also want to remind myself that I planted the little ones in this third bed, you know, all of the little Italian kales that I had in the flat. So I need to remind myself not to freak out that if these ones are growing like way bigger than these ones, that's why. I also wanted to remind myself that there was a lot less of this seaweed material on, you know, these 3 beds compared to my lettuce bed, which I think was like a pathway and a half worth of seaweed that I threw on there. It was just like a huge amount of seaweed. And so this didn't have quite as much in it. And I'm planting out my little extra soil blocks of lettuce. 17 kind of interspersed with a baby chard in the front here, and then a couple 2-4 at the ends of this bed. Hi. I ordered a larger brimmed garden hat. And so I apologize in advance to everyone in Southeast Alaska. Between my sundress, my new shiny sundress, and my bigger brimmed hat, if we end up having another rainy summer.